What is up, you movie freaks? We are here still doing the MCU Rewatchers Council, and we're going back. Obviously, we've already knocked down a decent amount, more than I thought we'd probably have up to this point, and we are on Iron Man 3. I always found it funny how Iron Man has three movies when most of them were still on their first during this point in time. But yes, Iron Man 3. And me and Matt are here to talk about it. Give you a couple pieces of news. One, it had like a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes, like 7 out of 10. Pretty good aggregate score. Metacritic had it at like 62 out of 10. So like this wasn't like the most well received. Sometimes on some of these really good MCU movies, you'll have them up to like 80, 90%, stuff like that, or like 8 and 9 scores and everything. This movie did do better than any of the predecessors. This was one of the first ones, because I know like the first Avengers probably did over $1 billion, but this is one of the first like regular standalone films that did over $1 billion. It actually made more money than both of the first two combined, actually. So those are some of the things about Iron Man 3. Matt, you watched it as well. You rewatched it as well. Just give like overall like thought about the movie, and then we'll break some of it down.
I always liked this one. It was like my second favorite one out of the three. Um, it was cool to see like all the work he had done on the other suits and shit, and that Tony's actually a pretty good hand to hand fighter when it comes down to it because he takes down a bunch of people in this movie without the suit. So
One
that's
thing
cool.
I noticed, I'm going to add to that real quick. One thing I noticed while watching the film is like, bro, at this point in time, our man Robert Downey was pretty cut. Like, he
Yeah.
actually looked physically fit.
Yep. This movie had a lot of humor in it that it worked. Um, I thought like it wasn't like forced jokes really. A lot of it was really natural. Um, and the action was really good. But one thing I did notice that I thought this movie suffered from was the floating head thing in a lot of scenes, especially like I forget which scene it was. But man, all I could see was Tony Stark's floating head. You know what I mean? In the suit.
Got you. I see what you're saying there. Yeah. Um, I like this movie. I think it's fine. I kind of liked it more than I did the second Iron Man. The first one, Iron Man's never going to probably get beat just because it was the original and they did a really super good job with it and everything else. I feel like this movie made as much money as it did because it's following the Avengers, which is probably like
Yep.
one of the best movies in the whole franchise with the MCU, just out of fun and action. And I agree with you. I thought the action and stuff in this one was pretty good. I thought they actually the villain in this I actually thought was pretty cool because like they
Yeah.
actually spent some time with that guy and everything, and they kind of built him up a little bit, and I thought that was done really well. I also thought like um, what they were and what they could do was pretty interesting as far as like their like evil superpowers that they had that they were utilizing was kind of like hey, this makes sense, could possibly beat Tony Stark. But I
Yeah.
do have I do have a few negatives to the film that we'll get into. But before we get into the negatives, let's talk about the a couple of things positive. I thought the direction was pretty well done for the most part, and like you said, the action stuff was really good and all that. But there was a couple of things, like I said, I had a problem with, and we'll get into those. But first, we'll talk about like those things were positive, and then like I'll go ahead and say like one of my favorite moments uh, in the film, and to me, uh, it was really just like, and I thought the best part of the movie in itself, like I said, and we both already praised it, was like the action scenes and set pieces and stuff that they had. But besides little things we'll get into later, like just I thought the final fight scene was pretty cool, right? With all
Yeah.
the different Iron Man suits out there being maneuvered around by Jarvis and everything else, and then things were happening. He was in and out of the suit and stuff like that. I thought that was a pretty cool way to set up a thing, and I enjoyed it overall. There were a couple of things with that scene that I didn't like, but it was still overall a really fun scene to watch. And tell me a couple of your positives and like maybe talk about your favorite moment.
Um, I thought it was cool that they showed that Tony was really like affected by the New York battle and shit like that. That he's like a way different character than when he started, like super cocky and shit like that. You know what I mean?
I am going to say this about that particular part is we have three of these films, and all three of them, to me, I would have enjoyed this film a little bit better uh, if at the beginning we didn't have Tony Stark going through issues. So, like in the first film, we had the issue like he was pompous and stuff, but then like he had to go through the hard times of being captured, and then like reevaluating his life and everything else, and like rebuilding that and coming up with new things to do. And then in the second movie, we had him going through the troubles, and he ends up getting up with Pepper and everything else, and like uh, doing all that. So he had those troubles. I thought it would have been just really cool to have a movie where him and Pepper were like in a really good spot. There wasn't any issues. He wasn't going through a lot of things. But then you just had like a bad guy come and destroy that, and then that's what he's got to fight against. Instead of him, not again. He's got to go through some stuff. He's having like basically PTSD from the New York thing and all that. And I get it to a certain point. That's why I don't like hate it. But it would have been nice to me if one of these three films would have had him like in a very positive like mode and nothing really going on, but then a bad guy comes and like messes it up, and then he has to like, obviously take care of this bad guy, this force.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, I think they just do it for added drama and shit like that. You know?
No, yeah, it's the same. And I think this is what some of the problems with the MCU as we keep going forward is like they get stuck into these, oh, this worked really well. We give them something they have to overcome, and then the bad guy shows up, and then and the sad part about it is most of the time the things they have to overcome is actually overshadows the bad guy. I necessarily don't think that happens in this film. Like I said, I thought the bad guy was more fleshed out in this movie and everything else. Um, so with that part of it, you know what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
but yeah, go ahead.
No, I like that they had him go there with it. Um, I also liked. Let me see. I like that the Mandarin was like a fake trick out. You know, he was just a puppet for the
Yeah,
real bad guy.
some people don't like that, but I mean, technically, the Mandal like. So I heard people criticize this film. This is one of the first ones I didn't see in the theaters. I watched it a little bit later, but I heard people criticize that part of it, like, oh, there wasn't no Mandarin or whatever, but there was really.
Yeah.
But there was also a fake one.
Hmm.
I mean, you had the Mandarin. He even says it. I've been him the whole time, kind of situation.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they have the real guy show up in Shang Chi. You know, his dad.
I got you. So, and like I said, some of this stuff I wasn't very comic book accurate in, as far as like I didn't know every story of behind all the characters and stuff like that, because they were picking some of the ones that wasn't top notch, and plus I was like more of a Spider-Man, Venom in that era part of the world, knew more about those things than some of these characters. Like Iron Man, I knew what Iron Man could do. I knew what he was. I read some of his comics, but I didn't like deep dive into it, so I didn't know all these different some of the bad guys and stuff they try to throw at you. But yeah, like what was your favorite like part of the actual movie?
Um, yeah, like I said, I really liked the part where he took down all those dudes at that Florida mansion or whatever without the suit. I thought that was cool because you know he was able to do a lot without it. And then you find out, yeah, that the Mandarin was fake. You know what I mean? I like that part a lot. And then also the ending when you see all the suits and different shit going down. You know what I mean?
There was even a good scene to me is whenever he's at like in Tennessee and he's at like the bar or whatever, and then like the lady
Yeah.
shows up that has some of the powers too, and he has to like confront her, and like the sheriff was that was pretty funny. He was like, "Oh, I think you got to tell me a little more than that, ma'am."
Hmm.
But I thought that was like really cool and really well handled and stuff like that.
Yeah, but you know what? With that scene, I'm so tired of that trope where people put something in the microwave and it blows up like at the perfect time. Like, how do you know when that's just gonna blow up? You know what I mean? If you put something in the microwave, who fucking knows?
I agree with you. I'm going to push back a little bit on that just because of it is Tony Stark. So this is a character that's been set up to be super intelligent, super smart. Like he's going to be able to put two and two together more than most people. But I do agree with you. Random people doing it that's never done it before.
Yeah.
Like Tony at least knows all this stuff with electronics and everything. So I can like say that in his character alone, that I actually believe he could do that and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. So just because of it being Tony Stark, I didn't mind it, but you are right. That happens way too much in a lot of other movies.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you need to be a rocket scientist to figure it out. You know what I mean? Everyone knows you can't put metal in there. But I'm just sick of the perfect timing of it. You know what I mean? Like, why does it ever go off too early or too late? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Right.
I,
And the only reason why I say what I said is like I could see somebody like Tony Stark knowing and understanding the time. Me and you understand that if we put metal in the microwave, something bad's going to happen, possibly an explosion or whatever. But we don't know how long it's going to take,
yeah.
right? Whereas somebody like Tony Stark, I would assume would probably know some information like that, that would be able to do that better than say like a random person. That's what I'm saying. But I totally agree with you. If it wasn't Tony Stark, I'd be 100% agreeing with you. And I would even say that because it's such a trope, they probably could have used something else. I mean, to be honest with you, he could have just had a lighter or something because he had like the gas
Yeah.
going and everything, and he could have like lit up a Zippo or something and threw it
Yeah.
in there and did it. So you could have still done the same thing just in a different way and
Hmm.
what have you. Um, but yeah, anything else like on the positive end? I did like the kid that was in here. I'm gonna say that too. I did like the kid. I thought it was like an interesting thing. I don't really love the fact they went into the PTSD thing. Like I said, just because the other two movies they started with like a downer, oh he's got to overcome something or something bad happens to Tony Stark. I thought it would have been cool in the third movie. He's living like the happy life, right? And then it gets kind of destroyed by a bad guy, right? Uh,
Yeah.
that's the only reason though. If there wasn't for the other two films before this one, I think it would have been like really cool. And I think they did do a good job. They decided to go that way with the story, and once they did, I thought they did a good job. He's got the PTSD, and he's even like hyperventilating a couple times and stuff like that because of things that went on. We saw him have the nightmare and everything else. This movie, I do give it credit to. It's a little darker than some of the other MCU movies, which I think's cool because like we've already seen Happy Go Lucky, and even though this thing does have jokes in it, like you said, it happens at the right moment. There are some like pretty bad situations and everything that they don't make us light of. Uh,
Yeah.
but like the kid saying like you're a mechanic, build something, and that calms him down instantly because it brings him back to
Hmm.
himself. I thought that was done really cool and really well. So that's another thing I like to throw in my positives. Did you have any other thing besides the stuff we've already talked about?
Um, I'll just say that it was cool to see that he's still really good friends with Rhodey, and that in the end, Rhodey's still fighting with him and shit to take shit down.
One thing I didn't like
Huh?
because I feel like this started. When was this film? Let me pull that up really quick. I did not like the Iron Patriot.
No.
I did not like that name, and the reason why I didn't like or I don't like it is because like people thinking like okay, so it goes to the same thing with Star Wars. You know how Boba Fett's ship was always named the Slave One, and then they tried to like name it something else because like and they didn't want to use that name anymore because it's like controversial or
Yeah.
whatever. Like War Machine has been a name that's been out there. We all know it's the name because of a character. It's not a name to do something bad. So this was like 2013. So yeah, I would say it's around that time frame where I just feel like people started getting more and more butthurt about some of the stupidest things you could get butthurt about. It's a name of a comic book character and what have you. So I don't understand what would be the deal. And I feel like they did it because of that, because of the name. Like they literally say it in the movie. And I actually think they did it for that reason. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they were just trying to be like a little funny with it or something like that because they did do like one or two little jokes with it or whatever. But like renaming the character because it could cause problems. It sounds too whatever. Like, and they kind of even make that joke about it, kind of deal. So like I said, it may not have been because of that, but watching it now in like today's society just made me feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they probably did it to sell more toys and shit like that. You know what I mean? Throw another suit in there to make some merchandise off of.
Right. And as I talked about it, like when I watched the film, I kind of had that feeling. But now as I talk about it and look back on the movie, it's not like they wasn't trying to use the name War Machine. It got brought up multiple times and it was like in a joking manner. So
Yeah,
maybe the director was like, hey, this will be, we're going to do this and this is going to be kind of funny. Like I said, but watching it in today's climate with everybody getting butthurt about everything anybody says out there, and we want to change this and this and this because it's problematic for some reason is but I also like, this is random, but like there was like a tag team that was going to the WWE and they were called War something and they made them like change their name just because of the fact that maybe too like what, get out of here, bro, get out of here, tired of that BS, man. I hope we get
yeah,
away from that kind of crap where we can have like real discussions and joke around about things that are totally innocent, but people always try to find a problem with them. But going back to the film, yeah, let's talk about some of the criticisms. My criticisms, one of them is going to be like the scene with Potts fake dying. The scene where Happy basically fake dies or should have been dead because he's just a human
yeah,
guy. No
yeah,
way he should have survived that, but survives it and everything else, and obviously has a happy ending. Like, this is those things. It's like, bro, I'm going to tell you right now. I would have been so excited about the story moving forward if Potts would have died then. I would have
yeah,
wanted to see what Iron Man does, like in the next film, even if he doesn't have his own like separate standalone film after this. Like we haven't gotten an Iron Man 4, but he was going to be a decently big part in like these other films to be able to like showcase like, oh yeah, this is some bad crap. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would have been interesting to see that story play out. But it's not even. It wasn't even because like I have watched all these other films afterwards and stuff and know Pepper Potts survived, but I just knew in that scene that she wasn't dead,
yeah,
and stuff like that. But they tried to like play on it, like, oh yeah. And to be honest with you, you could have guessed that because she had already been injected with that stuff, and we've obviously seen them walk through fire and be okay. So, but Iron Man knows that too. He's seen it. So, like, he shouldn't even have been sad. He should have known, oh, she just fell in some fire. She'd be okay because she had that stuff put in her.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, they try to like push their relationship super heavy in this movie. He even says like, "I do everything for you" and all this shit. It's like I don't believe any of that shit. You know what I mean? I
I'm
don't know.
fine with that if you do a real death at the end, because that
Yeah,
brings that like, oh man, you're excited, you're watching all this action and everything else, and you forget there's danger involved a little bit because you're just having fun seeing all the flying Iron Man going all over the place and everything else. But then there's this real serious moment. He's trying to save her. He can't get to her. She falls to her death. And then he uses that revenge to like take out the bad guy who seems to almost be overpowered, that can do all these things and probably even take him out. It's like, that would have been a great story. And further on, you would have been like, how does Iron Man deal with the loss of like someone that like helped him change his life and all this kind of thing. I just thought that would have been like a very powerful moment that you could have had in the movie, and then to me it was just like the whole thing was like, I'm just laughing.
yeah,
It's like, bro, she ain't dead. What you all sad for, bro?
yeah,
But yeah, that's one of the things I think the MCU. And it wasn't as bad when you watch this film the first time because you don't know all the things in the future,
yeah,
right? You're like, okay, I'm going to give this film a pass. They done it one time. They fooled me a couple of times. They fooled me with Happy and with Pepper Potts in this particular movie. But you know what? There's going to be other movies where sacrifices are going to have to be made, that kind of thing. But like, even the lady that came and visited the house, that was like part of the plan of getting Tony Stark like involved in this thing to even so that they could get even more powerful, this group or whatever. She doesn't even die. She gets like basically almost hit by a missile.
yeah.
Like I can give Tony Stark, obviously he's been training, he's buffed up. Maybe he hits a wall or something like that. He's able to survive a little bit. Pepper Potts got the Iron Man suit around her, so she's obviously okay because of that. But this random lady that shows up at the house gets hit with a freaking missile, gets thrown back 50 feet into a wall, and like she can get up and even walk.
Yeah.
Pepper Potts didn't even have to carry her out of the thing. That's the kind of stuff. Like that was the weakest part of this film to me was those kind of things. Those like things happen, nobody gets hurt, or they get
Yeah.
hurt, or they should have been dead, but they don't even get hurt kind of situations. It's like, or they get hurt, but pretty bad. But like I said, like at least Happy got hurt pretty bad, but still, bro, that dude should have been dead as hell.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like a hand grenade has like a 10 to 15 foot kill radius just from the shockwave of the explosion. That's with nothing hitting you. So imagine what's a missile packing. You know what I mean?
Bro. And literally, if you've been alive for the last couple of days and watch any news, like, bro, we're seeing what missiles can do right now in action.
Yeah.
Like in the Middle East right now, there's like missiles getting blown up everywhere. We see it. Like that crap's devastating. I mean, yeah, it's just crazy. Like that's the kind of stuff right there that kind of irks me.
Yeah,
Like,
it totally demolished the house made of steel and shit like that. But
right.
the people made of flesh and bone, they're okay.
Like I said, I can give a pass. You got your main character, obviously. You put them in the dangerous situation, especially in our the Potts thing's fine because she had the Iron Man suit surround her, so she's gonna obviously be okay. She's got protection. Uh, but yeah, the random person, like I can get plot armor for your main character, but why do we got to have it for this random person? And then like it's not like she plays like this integral part. I mean, she kind of moves the plot a little bit, but you could have did that a little different way. And then she's like dies anyway.
Yeah.
Like it was just that was just pretty dumb. You could have had her leaving the house after talking to him for a minute and say, "Hey, I got to meet y'all here. This isn't going to be safe." And she's leaving, and then the thing starts happening. Right? You don't even have to have her in the house when it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I hated the whole way that thing even started off because she's like looking at the TV and she's like, "Hey guys, should we be looking out for that?" And it's a fucking missile coming at the house here. Yeah, I think you should be worried about the missile coming at the house. You know what I mean? What the fuck is this chick talking about?
Yeah, I would
And
have
yeah,
been worried just from the helicopters that showed up beforehand. And I know that like that wasn't the bad guys' helicopters, but like what, like how it showed the helicopters like showing up around? Was that all the
yeah.
bad guys' helicopters?
No, those were like news choppers and shit.
Yeah, but man, somebody help somebody out. They just
No,
sitting
they're
up
they're
there.
filming it. They're filming it.
Yeah, they filming it, man, so that we can get it documented. Bro, get the hell out of here, bro. I hate
Yeah,
that crap on like TikTok videos of somebody getting their perk snatched and you're just sitting over there like a dumbass, like not even calling for the cops or nothing. Bro,
yeah.
get out of here, man.
And then
These people,
even like the way he fought those guys kind of pissed me off because like the suit wasn't ready. So what does he do? He shoots a piano at the fucking first chopper. That takes that one out. The second one, he takes out the missile out of his arm and not just like hits it, he shoots the fucking thing before, and that makes that explode, which makes the helicopter explode. You know what I mean? Like
right. And the
all this
problem,
work.
right, I do have another issue is like they do the same trick later in the movie, if you remember. Pepper Potts wakes up from being dead and she's like beating the bad guy up almost worse than Iron Man was there for a second. It's like knocks him with a pole and he flies out of the screen for like 30 minutes. But when he comes back, she like kicks that big shell up towards him and then like she does the same thing,
Yeah.
like kind of deal. She like shoots it. Yeah, she shoots it, the big bullet after it gets up to him or whatever to cause an explosion.
Yeah.
So
It's like,
they
dude,
even use yeah.
if you had those things in your hands, those pulsar blasts, why don't you just shoot the fucking propeller of the helicopter? They're gonna fall. You know what I mean? You
And
don't need to
and
do
I
anything
also
more.
think they did the whole like him not having his whole suit too many times.
Yeah.
Like where he's having to use like one foot to blast away or whatever, and like only has one hand cannon basically or whatever. Like they did that. Like that was cool the first time they did it, but I was like, bro, we already seen that. Let's do something else. Like
Yeah. Another thing too that this movie really pointed out to me was like his armor, like the physics of it is so crazy because sometimes it's light enough to be a suitcase, where Pepper can throw it to him and he just catches it. But other times it's so heavy he has to fucking drag it through the snow. You know what I mean? And then other
Oh
times,
yeah, that is true. That's kind of stupid.
yeah,
I mean,
and-
maybe you can say that something was wrong with it at that point because it was as possibly damaged and it couldn't turn into something smaller or whatever. And now he also, this was a prototype one, so maybe it wasn't like the other ones he had used before and
yeah,
everything else. But it's like, bro, even with that being said, to be honest with you, and we find out at the end of the film, there's like 20 freaking Iron Man's suits hanging around.
yeah,
Wouldn't you think that, like, okay, I got a prototype one. Before I go on this mission, I'm going to like pull out one of my other ones. And even if, like, so he kind of like passed out and then arrived in Tennessee, so you can say, well, he was too far away. Nah, bro, he ain't too far away from shit, bro. Wherever he was at, all them damn things showed up out of nowhere. Jarvis could have
yep.
like grabbed one of those suits and brought it and made it fly to Tennessee, so he had a good combat ready suit until he got the other one fixed.
Hmm. And then also, sometimes his suit could take bullets and fucking missile blasts and all this shit, and other times it just falls apart. What the fuck is that? Where's the integrity in this suit? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that yeah. If you look into that real hard, like while you're watching the film, I didn't like notice it as much, but when you go back and start thinking about the movie and certain specific situations that happen, yeah, it got to be a little silly at times with stuff like that. One thing I'll say that sometimes can be silly, but I thought it was okay, was the little kid hitting that dude with the snowball right whenever he was trying to shoot and kill. Like, I give them props with that because they didn't just let the kid do that and the guy see the kid and nothing happened. You know, the
Yeah,
guy grabs the kid to use the kid against Tony because he
yeah,
realized, oh, this kid cares about Tony, mate, and Tony is probably going to care about the kid and whatnot. And I thought it was pretty cool how they like set up that he had that thing on him that Tony had gave him so that he could use against bullies or whatever. I thought that was a pretty cool setup. I thought that was actually done well. I hate that kind of thing when it's not done well.
yeah. Me and Adela
Our,
talked about it. We were like, why was this kid at Tony's funeral in Endgame? You know what I mean? Like, why did they bring that kid back for that scene? So random.
well, to me, it was them trying to put too much into this continuity thing. Like, what would have happened there was like Tony Stark did something really cool for that kid. Maybe he checks up on the kid every now and then, but you're right. Like, this kid, well, it's a core. No, we don't get enough of the story to know how close he got to the kid. So, like, let's say if every movie up until that point, up until that funeral, like he had some interaction with that kid, whether it's small or not. But the problem is we don't never see the kid again until the funeral.
Yeah,
So as all we know is Tony Stark set him up a cool garage and everything, and then like never checked up on him again as far as we know,
yeah,
right? So yeah, it's like, bro, you're doing too much at that time.
yeah. Because if
Like,
like that's the case, like why wasn't Hawkeye's family there and shit like that? They were at least in the movie. You know what I mean?
yeah, not, yep, totally agree.
But
Uh,
dude, I'll tell you the dumbest thing I thought of this in this fucking movie. I mean, I know we said a lot of shit. I still like this movie, but is when that bomb goes off at the Chinese theater and Happy's there, and somehow he miraculously survives.
no, yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier with Happy. He gets fucking should have been blown up to bits in a million pieces, and somehow
Yeah.
he's still alive.
Hey,
So,
but how the fuck are you gonna tell me that in an explosion like that, this motherfucker is gonna end up pointing to the evidence that Tony needs to find out how it happened and who got him? Like, dude, he fucking he goes, "Show me
I
something,
agree with you.
Happy,"
I
and he
agree with
brings up
you.
the laser, and
Yeah,
Happy's hand is pointing in a direction, and then this like laser line points, and then he like digs up a fucking set of dog tags. Are you fucking kidding me? So you're telling me that in the explosion, Happy had the fucking place of mind to be like, Tony's gonna need to know how this happened, and I'm gonna point right to the fucking dog tags that I
bruh,
fucking somehow know they landed right there. Or you're
bruh.
gonna tell me that in the randomness of an explosion, this motherfucker ends up pointing at some fucking dog tags. Get
Look,
out of here.
to me, that would have been a cooler thing if he was actually died in that scene. Like, I know I'm asking for some death here, but god darn, the stuff that's happening in the positions you put your characters in, somebody's got to die sometime. Like, it's a
Yeah.
freaking joke at that point. You make your movies and your series like not people not care as much because they know nothing bad's going to happen. Oh, they're going to make it look like a bad thing happens, but nothing truly bad's ever going to happen. So like you could have had him like, okay, so for instance, you could have made ways that Pepper stays alive. You don't have to do the thing I said earlier. But in this film, if Lucky would have bit the dust right then, or Happy would have bit the dust right then, and like maybe somehow or another he grabs the dog tags in his hand,
Yeah.
right before the explosion, right, and he's dead. And when Tony Stark sees his body, he finds that he was holding the dog tags. Or when Tony Stark goes to like basically not inspect the body, but you know how like if somebody dies, they'll get somebody close to him to come and make sure ID the body. So maybe you go and ID, and the guy who did the work was like, hey, here's some dog tags he was holding.
Yeah.
And then Tony finds out that way. Bro, that would have been super cool.
I was thinking that same exact thing. That's all he would need to do was die.
That would have been cool. Yeah, that would have been cool, but we can't have nobody die. We can't have nobody die in the MCU, for God's sakes. Endgame, so like in Infinity War, we had a like huge amount of people kind of die, right? We don't know what happened to them. And then in the Endgame, we get like the deaths go from like positive whatever, like however many deaths all at once, to when the other snap happens to where it actually brings everybody back or whatever. We actually go into the positives. Even though Iron Man technically dies and Captain America walks away, we literally are like a negative death scene. Like we actually gain people because we got an extra Gamora walking around. There's like 2 Gamoras walking around. Everything else is like, bro, get out of here, dude. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the kind of stuff, especially when you're watching it now, after you see the stuff that happens in the future, that you're like, what the hell is going on here? But that ain't the stupidest thing in the movie. The dumbest thing in the movie, what the hell was the haircut Happy had in the very first scenes when we saw like the flashback?
Oh.
What was that, bro? What was that? Oh man, dude, what was he doing? What were they thinking about with that wig? It had to be a wig.
Yeah,
that had to be a wig they used, bro. That shit was. That was. I almost died laughing seeing his dumb ass walking around looking like that. Like, bro, what do you think this is? Ain't nobody ever walked around with that hairdo.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, man?
Yeah.
But yeah, I know we did go on some negatives, and sometimes it's easier to talk about the negatives and what you might would have changed. But overall, that's why I like this. We started with the positives for a reason, because we overall are positive, I think, about this movie. Any last thoughts, and then give your score for the letterbox thing that we're doing?
I'll just say one last thing, because I even mentioned it to Adelia, was like, how the fuck did Tony Suit know to like go around Pepper or the bad guy at the end just because he waved his hand? You know what I mean? Like he had to have those implants in his wrist, and that's how the suit knew where he was.
Well, he did say that he needed to make some tweaks, and this was like the next day, so it wasn't like, right after what happened that night when he was dreaming, right?
Yeah.
So this happened like a day or two afterwards, and like I think the tweak that he made was not to protect him, but to protect her.
But it's still wrapped around the bad guy at the end too, and he blows the suit up. You know what I mean? I'm just saying the like process of him needing to have like some sort of thing in his body so the suit knows like, oh, that's Tony, attached to Tony. And
I agree with you.
Don't.
I understand what happened with the pot situation, but I do agree with you. Like, I don't know of any time that he would have been, he didn't have time to reconfigure anything. So how did it know to go around the bad guy at the moment?
Yeah. Well, especially in the Pepper scene, because they're in an explosion, and mid being blast back, he like aims it at. Are you telling me he's pointing right at her the whole time he's tracking her? And fucking, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just think that's so ridiculous. And then when I think to Endgame and how he has nanotech suits and shit, like, I just can't. I don't know. It's
that's the problem with a lot of these things, is like it starts to get ungrounded. Like, I love the first couple of John Wick movies because they were at least a little grounded, even though there were a couple of things that's like kind of unbelievable, but there was only like a few in each movie. But then you get to like John Wick 3 and 4, and it's like the dude's Jesus.
Yeah.
He can't die. He's a god. He gets hit 15 times in a car, gets thrown out of buildings multiple times, multiple stories up, landing on cars that cave the fuck in, and he's able to still walk.
Yeah.
All that. It's like, bro, no.
Yeah.
Like that stuff takes me out of it at that point when it starts getting that ridiculous. And like I said, I thought that the first films we watched leading up to the first Avengers were at least a little grounded compared to the fact that they're superheroes and they got superpowers, which is going to take it to that special place. But even with that being said, it still felt like it was adhering to certain rules. And this is that first film where some of those rules, it's like, we don't care about rules in superhero movies. They just want to see things that are cool. They're not going to actually pay attention about the story. They're not going to pay attention to anything else but cool action scenes and stuff like that. They're not going to question the intelligence of anything. So I think this is like one of the first movies that starts going in that direction.
Mm.
All right.
Yeah.
Because like with Tony Stark, we're not dealing with magic here. We're dealing with like engineering and stuff. You can't just like magically have things happen out of nowhere. And that starts to be like, oh, it's Iron Man magic. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Magic Iron Man, he'll do striptease for you coming soon. But anyway, give out that score out of 5. So because we're doing the letterbox thing right now.
I'm gonna give this one a 3.5 out of 5. I like this movie. It's pretty good. It's fun.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of like plot armor and shit in it.
So just to let people know, a 2.5 dead in the middle. We don't really like it or love it or whatever. We're kind of in, we don't know where we're going with it. 3.5 means still enjoyed the movie. You still like the movie. It's not a perfect film by no means, and nobody's going to ever say that. But you know what? This is one of the reasons why I like talking about the movies afterwards. Sometimes I'll raise that number up, and sometimes I'll lower that number down on my first instinct. First instinct was 3.5 like you, but I'm going to go down to a 3. I do think there's enough in this film, enough problems in the film once you look back at it and stuff like that. I still think the film was fun. I didn't hate like rewatching it or anything. It wasn't a trudge. I thought that the characters and stuff were done pretty well for the most part. It was just those things like you're talking about, the things with the suit that didn't make sense, and then all the fake deaths we start getting, and it gets worse and worse and worse as we go through the MCU. But with that being said, guys, we enjoyed it. We enjoyed talking to you guys. Hope you stayed till the end. Saw the stuff floating around the banner. You can do go to Ko-fi. You can do Patreon and everything else, since Apple ended up losing, I think, their thing with the Patreon, trying to charge y'all more money to do Patreon and stuff like that. But you can also join the Discord for free. But if you get on certain levels of backing us a little bit, you can join us like Matt does here, talking about like different films and different movies with the Rewatchers Council, or be it like new movies that are coming out. We'll be covering some of the new movies here pretty soon. But with that being said, guys, until next time, peace.